materials you would like. Okay, take it away, Misha.
Well, hi everybody. As you can see, well, welcome to the Friday. As you can see, I'm in a car. I'm not driving. I promise you that. And so it's an interesting experience to do this from the road. It's a very comfortable car, so I'm actually been driving for quite a while. So lots of news today. Let's start with, of course, COVID news as usual. So those of you who've been waiting for free kits, they are here. So I'm putting a couple of links, and I just successfully ordered a bunch for myself as well for my parents. So I put the link in there. Go ahead and get that started. They will allow only one order per household. I don't know how they're going to figure out about apartments in the same address. I tried to put 2 different apartments in my home and it didn't work. So they must have a way of somehow figuring that out. So hopefully, if you live in an apartment complex, it should still work. Every apartment should still be able to place at least one order. So that's the first good news. It says 4 tests. I presume that there will be periods in which you can reorder, but they haven't specified that yet. So that's the first news. The second, of course, is this new variant that XES around the news. So it's already in 15 states. There's, of course, expectation that it will pick up very quickly. And most of this it's interesting that it is mixed. So the reason it's because it's a cross of the flirt with the older variant from last year than the prior one, so it's supposed to be spread. There is no expectations that it's going to be more, that it's going to be virulent, meaning that people will get sicker. It's going to be more contagious slightly, but it's not going to be worse in terms of symptoms. So that's the first update on this one. Good news, because it's a Okay, so we're gonna pull over here because we're starting. Okay, let's pull over here. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna just stop and then. Right. So where did you lose me? Can some where I get dropped out?
Because it's a blank.
Okay. So a cross between 2 variants, right? So it's a variant from last year and the original, one of the original Omicrons, and then the recent one, the flirt. So since it's a cross, I don't think there's any expectation that there's going to be a problem with the vaccine. So do we expect that the vaccine, that especially the new one, the updated one, is going to cover this variant for now? So that's a good news. And then, of course, even better news is that we're on a rapid downturn in terms of the last spike. All states are seeing decrease in numbers, and the modeling currently is expected that we will hit the next wave in mid-January. So we'll see if the current CDC modeling is correct on that. Also in the news, the CDC announced return of the tracking device that they've used. It's not going to be a Hopkins one. The CDC is going to have its own website. Interestingly, they're going to track real time both flu and COVID simultaneously. I tried to figure out where it's going to see it and if they already have some kind of a demo, but I couldn't find anything. So if anybody have time and like to do a little research, please by all means help out and we can figure this out next time. But apparently it's going to be more visual than before. The last CDC tracking system I remember was terrible and I never used them. I only used the Hopkins one. So hopefully it'll be better. Now, of course, it's going to be a really good one to check in because especially if they're going to do flu as well, and there is a discussion of then adding RSV to it. So it'll be a good one. Flu is still not here, so if you're wondering about the vaccines, we'll come back to that. But let's see. I think I saw a question in the chat. Okay, I still see it. Okay, good. So we'll come back to that. Is my signal okay now? Okay, good. All right, good. So so those are the two big COVID news I have, or three. So let's do the questions first, and then we'll see how we're doing on time. And then I have a couple other topics we can cover if needed. By the way, there was a question sent to me before the meeting about which flu vaccine to get if you're over 65. We did talk about this before, but I'm just going to reiterate. You want to get what's called a high potency. Sometimes they call them quadrivalent. Sometimes they just call them high potency. So for example, the one that's very common is called Fluzone. I'm going to put that in the chat. Fluzone high potency. And remember, we also talked about the fact that you're probably better off getting a single vial rather than multi-vial, due to the fact that multi-vial will have a little bit of mercury. If you don't care about that, that's fine. It's a pretty small amount. But if you do care, then get a single vial vaccine. So that was a good question. I forgot who asked it, but thank you, whoever did. All right. So if one so Kathy is asking, if one is over 65 and had COVID vaccine in August, how long should one wait to get the new COVID vaccine? I had thought 6 months, and I read that one. So what you read, and especially on CDC or other places, or what I propose, not necessarily the same thing. So I would say at least 6 months. In fact, maybe even closer to 12 months. Now, because a lot of people in August got already an updated vaccine. So the updated vaccine came out in the last week of August. So if you've gotten it, good. If you didn't, if you got the old one, then you probably don't want to wait 12 months because you want to get the updated one. So I would wait for 6 months and then get the new one. So that would be, I guess, August, September, October, November, December. So some January, February, somewhere in that place. Now, also, Kathy, you can also time it to the next wave, right? So we're in a downturn. I expect the downturn will continue. So you could just you just plan on getting it when the next wave starts spiking. So let's say somehow we missed the January spike. You may wait even more then, maybe even to the next fall. So 12 months, but you'll decide. Now, if the XES will take over as the main variant, that actually would be in some funny way good news, because there would be an expectation that if it happens, the vaccines are going to work fine. In some way, it would be a good thing, because we don't want to have a different strain come on board and take over. That would be a problem. If the new strain comes in that's resistant to the vaccine, then we have an issue. So it'll be an interesting dynamic to see how it's going to play out. All right. Any other questions? We're gonna do questions first, because I don't want to. I think the last couple of times I've shortcut some people. I really hate doing that.
Okay, Dr. Kogan, this is Salome. Is the XES for the COVID or for the flu?
Oh, no, for the COVID. We're only talking about COVID. The flu strains don't have names. They have names just for scientists, but
Okay.
for the rest of us, even for physicians, they don't have numbers or anything, because they're kind of irrelevant. They're not different enough to give them different names. But for the COVID strains, this became a norm, that each strain gets its own name. I think the naming thing is really funny and complicated. I was trying to figure out why is this now thing called XES. Apparently, there's a complex system there's a large group of virologists who constantly tracking this. And then they came up with this really weird naming model that's I don't think it really matters for our sake of our conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Got my flu, Cecilia, got my flu vaccine in DC today at CVS. It has both senior vaccines. Right. Yeah, so that's good. So you got the most common one. That's the one that I usually recommend. There's a couple other ones. Usually CVS will carry 2. GW, I believe, carries also 2. Why they carrying 2? I don't know. I think there are probably some allergies that people may have been concerned, and so they people probably asking for a choice of specific one. I honestly don't know. It's kind of you need to be a specialist in the vaccines to understand this minor differences between these two. Think of it the same way as the Pfizer and Moderna COVID shots. Think of the same way. Okay, 2 weeks is still the recommended time between, at least 2 weeks. Great question, thank you, Isla. So minimum 2 weeks, right? And then the longer the better. So if you can do a 4 weeks, I'd probably prefer that, but 2 weeks is the minimum. Why? The immune shift after each booster takes 7 to 14 days on average. After about 14 days, you start creating enough antibodies. Immune system re-equilibrates, probably quite safe afterwards. Could you wait a lot less, let's say 5 days? I don't actually know. You know, even this recommendation is relatively non-specific. It's not based on some concrete study that I can tell you, okay, do this and then you're safer than if you're doing that. What I can tell you is if you take them together, there is a much higher risk of strokes. I mean, it's relatively speaking, it's a massive increase. It's like doubling risk of strokes. Not an absolute risk, and I think it's very tiny. But you know, why would you take that? That even if the absolute risk is small, this is the case where unless there's something very specific, like you're really concerned about it getting a flu, but right now we don't see the spike yet, right? So that's why it would be safer to do it this way. Now, I would say that if you're in a rush, getting 2 together is okay, because obviously getting either flu or COVID would be way higher risk than any risk of any side effects from either of those vaccine individually or combined. Great, thank you. Talking about side effects of the vaccines, there was a recent large study. I believe it's coming from Europe somewhere. I'm trying to locate it right now. And it's showing probably the most accurate data on the side effects. And yes, the moment I find it, I'll put that in the link. In short, we already knew this data, but it's really good to have a specific outcomes, because you know, when you're making a choice, am I going to do this? I think it's critical to understand what are you comparing here. You know, if you're comparing side effects of a disease versus side effects of the treatment, right? So that's how you make a decision. So it is, as I thought, it's a British study. It's published in British Medical Journal. I'll put the link here. And basically they're saying, yeah, there are rare side effects. We already knew about them, but it's nice to have a numeric data as to sort of the frequency of those events. The big ones, of course, is that rare complication of ascending paralysis, Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is quite rare, not deadly, usually people recover from it. And then, of course, there are cardiovascular problems. There's a whole host of them. There's very, very minimum increase, very trivial increase in a clots, not in a strokes. Strokes risk was increased only when you combine flu and COVID, not in a COVID alone. But in the clots. So the clots were defined as a peripheral system clots, whether it's upper or lower extremity. And the excess was really, really small also. Like we're talking, you know, about 1 in a million roughly zones. So think of the sort of frequency of that, that's really minute. And then the inflammation of the heart, what's called myocarditis, or that was more observed in the younger people, particularly in the young teenage boys. Again, trivial increase, but significant enough to see that as a real trait or a real point. So if anybody is really stickler for numbers, by all means, review this. I promise I will review this study on the YouTube channel in the next couple of weeks. That's on my to-do list. Because I kind of feel I want to go through details and then put they have a nice table in there, and I want to summarize the table for viewers, particularly with the idea to say, okay, this isn't actually what is the not only an absolute risk, because the problem with absolute risk is this. Let's say I told you it's 1 in a million. Okay, well, it's great that it's 1 in a million, but what if you're in that 1 in a million, right? So that's a problem. In some ways, it's important to also understand the relative risk. So if you don't get a vaccine, what is your risk of getting this? And if I do get a vaccine, what is my risk? I think in some, it's a more of psychological impact. Like if you know that the vaccine doubling your relative risk, no matter how rare it is, it's going to impact us in a certain way, right? So this is how I think I want to present the data that it's clear. Now, I will tell you that the relative risk in this study, that in BMJ study, was also very, very small. So it's not the risk was small to begin with, and then and these are conditions that do occur, right? So particularly inflammation of the heart can occur from all kinds of reasons. There's certain viral infections that can cause it. Of course, most of this condition is what we call an idiopathic, or we don't know why it happens. Okay, so so now I covered, I think, everything but one little point that I will cover if we have a couple of minutes. Okay, I'm going back. There's another question. It looks like Cecilia asked me personally. Let's see. Sure, it seems to me. Well, no. So let me explain. The high dose vaccine, they're all adjuvant. So there are no live vaccines that are high dose. There are some live vaccines. We're not talking about that. That's a very specific group, and this is not what we're discussing for flu. So all of them are going to be high dose adjuvant doses, not an issue. Yeah, Fluzone is usually recommended because it's just most common. It's easier to get. It's also, I think, cost issue. Some of the primary care physicians do like to look into the numbers of the cost. It's supposed to be covered by every insurance, including Medicare and Medicaid, but there's still a cost to society. You know, and vaccines cost vary dramatically. There are some vaccines that could be hundreds of dollars, like shingles vaccines, for example. And then there are some that could be 20 or 30, like in case of flu and COVID. Those are not very expensive vaccines. They're not very difficult to make. So, all right. Well, that is any other questions?
Misha, you can keep taking questions until 2:40. That's the hard cutoff.
I know, but I can also stop at any point, so it doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
But while I'm waiting for more questions, I'm going to give a little heads up. And Janet, you don't even know that yet, but I will be giving you a heads up as well. So I've had an absolutely magnificent interview on Wednesday with a new new doctor, new physical therapist from Thrive Again, Mary Ellen Cramp. And she is a visceral manipulative expert. She does mostly work with women, particularly patients with EDS, pelvic floor. She's a teacher in one of the largest osteopathic schools. And we just had such a great conversation. So I'm putting it on YouTube. So keep an eye. It will be there, and absolutely 100% certain. Well, not 100%. Nothing is 100%. But you know, we're definitely going to try to bring Mary Ellen to Friday so that you all can ask her questions and hear her talk and you know, interact with her. But the YouTube video will be uploaded probably early next week. I hope before the next Friday. And then well, I will remember, and then I'll give you a link in case you forget. So that is all I have for today. And look at that, 1:28, but we did start later. So I've had less prepared today, but that's good. That'll give us slower time. So, but I'm still going to take more questions if anybody has any. And I actually will, while I'm waiting for this, I'll give you guys a link to her page so you can take a look in case anybody's interested. And the question, of course, could be, what is visceral manipulation? What am I talking about? Why is it important? Well, visceral manipulation is a type of an osteopathic treatment or physical therapy treatment. It's a very, very gentle technique. I would compare it a mix between like an energy treatment like Reiki or biodynamic craniosacral therapy and massage. And the practitioner literally will feel the tissue. And the treatment, the uniqueness here is it's not a treatment of a muscles or ligaments, etc. It's a treatment of organs. So the therapist would be able to mobilize the organs. Let's say you have a surgery of some sort, and now you have a chronic abdominal pain because one of your pieces of bile gets stuck between a different ligaments or different adhesions. So the visceral manipulative experts will be able to release this and free it up. And I got all psyched about this because those of you who've been following me know I'm getting prepared for a race in February, skiing cross country, 50-kilometer skiing race. So, since I'm 50, I probably should check in with experts, right? So I did my heart check to make sure I don't keel over halfway from heart attack, which is probably not going to happen. And then I have a physical therapist I go to periodically. And so I went to see her and she said, oh, you have this chronic abdominal pain. One Mary Ellen lays her hands on you. So she did something. And I was like, what are you doing? Because it felt really strange. It felt like she literally was like grabbing my piece of my liver and doing something to it. And it wasn't all that comfortable during the treatment. It was a little, but actually after I felt a lot better, like all of my typical chronic irritable bowel syndrome symptoms have gone away. And usually they go away from any treatment for a couple of weeks. Now it's been 8 weeks and they haven't came back pretty much at all. So pretty good result there. All right, any other questions? Okay. Well, that's okay. Mary Ellen is the name of a practitioner. And if you go to the link I put in there, you will find her last name is Cramp, I think, with, I shall tell you for sure. I'm not really good with names. So it's Cramp with Kramp. So, and she's a doctor in physical therapy. So actually, in case you didn't know, so physical therapists can have a different levels. They can have a bachelor's of physical therapy, master's, or they can have a doctorate. So Mary Ellen has a doctorate and she's a teacher in several schools. In the video that I'm going to be posting, she's also talking about some really interesting case reports and publications she did. She has a much higher chances of pregnancy success in infertile women just by doing manipulation of the ovaries and uterus. Apparently, there is a large percent of women who can get pregnant, not because there's something wrong on a cellular level, but because the way the uterus is positioned, it simply cannot get impregnated due to the position. And often it's completely missed because imaging cannot demonstrate that. There's no way of looking into it this way. But from functional perspective, when osteopaths feeling the organs and the tissues, they can sense a lot finer shifts. This is actually quite a fascinating topic in itself, that our perception capacity for certain things is better than MRIs and CTs, etc. And I've completely in agreement with that because I have done some training, very basic training, where even I, with no deep expertise in this topic, can feel certain things that I can only describe as way beyond any kind of testing we can do with our current insurance covered devices, put it that way. All right, well, good. I think we're probably ready to move on to our therapy session. So I'm not highlighted. That is good. So I'm looking for Elva. There you are. Oh, okay. All right, great. Well,
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, Elva, it's so great to have you back. It's wonderful. Thank you so much. And take your time. I think hopefully it's everybody's prepared and brought their supplies, so then we can get going.
Hi, thank you so much, Dr. Kogan, and have safe travels. Sending you travel mercies. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Elva Anderson. I have a PhD in the expressive arts, and I just love the arts. Some of you may know me from the laughter yoga that we've done here. And as you know, laughter can be very transformative. It's healing. So we're going to kind of wind it down a little bit today and do some art. And I love art. I say to people sometimes, you open me up and you'll find some markers and crayons and paint. That's how much I love art. And I should say the arts, not just the visual arts, but all of the arts. So we're going to talk about the transformative power, the healing power of the arts. So I do want to say that we're going to start off talking about art therapy, but each and every one of you are going to do something art as therapy, okay? And I will define the difference between the two, but I do want you all to get settled in, get comfortable. That's the first thing we want to do before we start anything, be it laughter or the arts, just to kind of get grounded, you know, take a breath, breathing in and out. 3 deep breaths are very nice to take at your own pace. Maybe you have some essential oils in your office or your home you can spray just to kind of bring that grounding in the moment. And also you want to set an intention for this afternoon. Maybe your intention is to just do art, to have fun. Maybe you would like to follow the directive that I have for you doing this presentation. You can think about this directive. And the directive is, what do I need now? What do I need now in this moment? Or what do I need to embrace in this moment? So I want you all to write that down or think about it. And as I do this presentation, maybe draw, write, scribble, whatever comes up in this process of art as therapy, and what do I need now? What do I need to embrace? So today I'm going to define art therapy, give you the benefits of art therapy, and then look at art as therapy. And you have the directive, what do I need now? What do I need to embrace? And you may work with that as I talk, okay? To give some time. And in the end, we're going to talk about your art or your poem or poetry or whatever you created. So art therapy, it is a creative process of art that helps to improve, enhance the physical, mental, emotional well-being. I even say the spiritual well-being. And it transforms possible destructive energies or feelings, and it immerses into a constructive arrangement of images, symbols, lines, colors, right? It's a self-expression. And it supports people to bring awareness and acknowledge to help resolve conflicts or traumas, and to help develop interpersonal skills to manage and to enhance your behavior, what's happening. It definitely helps with reducing anxiety, stress. It definitely increases self-awareness. It's self-empowering when you're doing art, any type of arts, you feel empowered. It builds up your self-esteem, and it also achieve insight. So as you work on this piece today at Art as Therapy, what do I need now? What do I need to embrace? Something's going to emerge. It emerges off the paper. It emerges through the body. It emerges through the music, maybe if you're making music, right? So the creative process, it gives you that opportunity for symbolic representations and expressions to come up. It facilitates a bridge and a path between the internal and the external world. That's the beauty of art, right? What's going on inside of you, and then bringing it up and out into the external world. And, art, it's a product that I say, it's your self-identity. It's who you are, which I truly, truly love. And as an art therapist, I've been doing this for many, many, many years in different settings. We create a sacred space. Hopefully that's what I'm doing a little bit today, right? A sacred space, that this holding environment that we're all coming together to create, with no judgment. That's just like mindfulness, right? No judgment here. And in which these internal traumas or these feelings of uneasiness can unfold in this safe environment. And there are times when we can just interpret, but it's seldom needed because the art speaks for itself. Anyone that does art or do art out here today realize it really speaks for itself. You do not really have to say much. Yeah. And so the art making process, it brings that self-awareness, that way to cope to these existing symptoms, and helps us to process and to also manage these stress. And it really enhances our cognitive abilities. As an art therapist, I've worked many locations, like I said, from New York City to here in Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, even in California. So I want you to think about art therapists and where we belong, where we go. We go everywhere. We go to schools and colleges, universities, hospitals, trauma centers, treatment centers, domestic violence. I know this is Domestic Violence Month. Homeless shelters, prisons, jails, institutions, all different type of community centers. I've even worked at rec centers. The materials that you can use all different types of materials. I am a mixed media artist. I love to work in different mediums. You can use chalk, you can use clay, crayons, markers, paint, watercolors, pastels, pencils. I mean, whatever you feel comfortable in using. And as you continue to work on this piece today, as it emerges from the paper, as I continue to talk, think about it. What do I need now? What do I need now in this moment? You may begin, you may continue to process this at your own time. What do I need to embrace in this moment? So with art therapy, I say art has been around for centuries as a healing tool. So it's nothing new. We call it different things, right? And so it's art making, and it helps to assist us to become whole, stronger, right? And there's so many benefits for art therapy. Again, to gain insight, it helps to unblock and move forward. It helps with emotional conflict, maybe to see it on the paper and it's like, wow, that's what I need now. It helps also to enjoy life-affirming pleasures of creativity. I mean, creativity is amazing. The creative process, just love it, right? It fosters that self-awareness, that personal growth, and all types of awareness within yourself. It also stimulates a mental and physical activity. It helps us channel maybe depression, anxiety, or stress, and helps us to grieve or cope or to even adapt. And what I love about it is, for those of you who says, I just can't do art, I don't like art, it does help with the creative process. It helps stimulates the creative process. So that's why I do a lot of laughter. You know, even if you start with laughter or movement or dance, listening to music, that will help you to have that creative process unleashed. All right. So today, art as therapy, we're going to look at art as therapy. And that's when we look at the art making activities and how we can look at it in a creative as well as a therapeutic tool, and helps the process of healing, clearing the mind, and also just an expression of oneself. Art as therapy is a leisure activity, can evoke feelings of satisfaction, feelings of achievement through the act of creating. Some of you right now may have not held up a marker or a pen in months or weeks. And now you're like, huh, this is something that I like. This is something that I can do more of, right? Without judgment, no judgment here. And I would say, just like meditation, try to draw or sketch or scribble something each day or each week. So for example, here are some feeling portraits. And these are just pieces of paper. You can have index cards. Like, how are you feeling today? Maybe I'm feeling like this. Maybe I'm feeling like I need to be put together, broken apart, and need to be put back together, right? Maybe I'm feeling all over the place. I need to be grounded. Maybe I'm feeling a little loopy, right? Up and down, right? Maybe I'm going from down to up, the high peak, down, back down, highs and lows. Maybe I'm feeling very small and teeny and little. Again, up and down, maybe bigger ups and downs. Maybe I'm feeling very jagged and angry or upset or have a lot of anxiety happening, right? So these little feeling portraits that you can do, sometimes you can even put them on your refrigerator for your family and loved ones to see, say, hey, I'm having one of these type of days, right? So these are some ways that you can visually share with family members about your feelings. And that's just a thing that we could do, is the feeling portraits. Again, little small cards for feeling portraits. Some of you may say to yourself, you're like to write. Maybe you like to do poems and poetry. I love to write too. I have many, many journals. I just write. And you can journal about the way you feel. You can journal about, what do I need now? What do I need to embrace in this moment? And these personal journals, they help us to reflect thoughts and experiences. And sometimes we go back to them and go, wow, I wrote that January of last year, and I'm feeling it maybe again January this year. Maybe there's some anniversary things happening that repeats itself in certain times. And see if there's any type of reoccurrence that's happening there. So as you do this art as therapy, I want you to think about ways that we can do things to create and provoke more creativity in our lives, like go to art galleries. If you're here in the Washington area, the DMV area, definitely go to the galleries, museums, studios, read poetry, or have someone read poetry to you. Scribble, doodle. I'm a big doodler. I like to doodle on the corners of papers and stuff. Take classes, go to workshops. Go to the park. It can be so inspirational to the park. Even if you have a puppy or a fur baby, like a little dog, go to the dog parks and notice how the other dogs are playing with each other, or go to a place where they have the cats, the little meow places, right? Go to the theater performances, watch a movie, get inspired by movies. Reading is very, very, very good way to stimulate creativity. Listen to music. If you play instruments, I highly, highly recommend and prescribe for you to play your instruments, bring them out. Meditate. That's something that I'm really big on. And meditation doesn't always mean to sit and to breathe and to be quiet in the moment. It could be pouring a cup of tea. It could be making a cup of coffee. It could be taking a walk. Meditation could even be to make breakfast in the morning, lunch, dinner, just being in the moment, in the here and now, being present in that moment, smelling the aromas that's coming up from the food, right? That's a meditation. Again, dance. Dance is big. I love dance. I love to move the body. The body's made to move, right? Also, what you could do is make a mask. We're coming up. Some people celebrate Halloween. Some people do not. And to be mindful of that, maybe you want to cut a pumpkin. Maybe you want to gather some leaves and make a still life. There's all the beautiful colors of leaves that are on the trees now. Maybe pick different colors of leaves and different shapes of leaves and put it out on a table and do a still life. These are ways that we can find creativity and to be inspired. These are just some practical tools and applications that I share with you today. And so I want to take this time now, because I'm looking at the little clock on the corner here, and just hear and see what people have done this afternoon in this moment of talking about art therapy, the creative arts, creating this holding environment, this safe space with no judgment, and also just knowing about art as therapy, that it does not have to have an art therapist there to be present with you to help you process it, to do art. You can just do it and then look at it yourself and see what comes up and write about it. So who would like to be one of my brave artists that come up on screen and share with me maybe something that came up for you when I said, what do I need now? And what do I need to embrace? So I will open up the space for you all to share. Again, we're sharing, and just tell me how you felt doing this. Thank you. Anyone? Should I call on some people?
I'll do it.
Great. Thank you so much, Irene. I appreciate that. Truly, truly. Thank you.
Okay. How do you want me to start?
Well, you could say your name, and you could say, was it the part of what do I need now? Or what do I need to embrace? And then just show the art and then tell us what you felt or what shifted in you. Okay. What transpired. Thank you.
What do I need now or embrace? Relaxation. Have faith in my capacity to get done and solve problems to get things done. My doodle is very, it's stress going up, and I need to go down, and then the squiggles are happiness.
I love that. And so even with patients or clients, sometimes I say, if you were the art, what would that look like in your hand? Can you do that for me, Irene? It goes, what?
Oh, it would go like this, and then it would come down.
Yes.
Happy. When I get rid of the stress, I'm happy. And
I love that.
Moving and moving and moving and moving and moving. Everything moving and laughing.
Laughter, that's right. So everybody online, let's do that. Irene's movement. Up.
Bad, down, good. And then once I get the stress out, I'm happy. I'm moving, everything's moving, and I'm laughing.
Yes, very, very good. Yay!
What did I do also? I wrote.
Oh, let's hear it. You want to share?
Why did I write? Organize what I'm learning. But is that art or what? That's more intellectual, isn't it?
No, when I heard that organize
what I'm learning.
What I'm learning.
Now my notes are very artistic. I thought of what I'm going to write about is the importance of the period. Because I had written my numbers 1, 2, 3, and they didn't have periods. They were not defined. And so I put in the periods, and now I have a category of numbers and what goes into each category. So I'm going to write about the importance of the period.
I love that. And you know what I hear too, Irene? I hear the fact that with organization comes more clarity for you.
Yes.
Sometimes we could be all over the place. I mean, all of us can vouch to this, right? But once you define things and put that period there, it gives it its own importance, and that in itself.
And in that, I found the importance of the period. It may sound ludicrous, but I'm going to work on that one.
I love that. No, it defines things. So thank you. Thank you so much, Irene. Okay, who wants to go next? Thank you.
I did something on the question you asked, what do I need to embrace?
Hi, Cheryl.
Hello. And I need to embrace patience. I've been studying patience for all week. And I wrote a haiku.
Would you like to hear it?
I take my time, no judgment, no expectations, mindful, open, peace.
Could you read that again, please?
Mhm. I take my time, no judgment, no expectations, mindful, open, peace.
I love that. That is very nice.
Thank you.
That's beautiful. Do you have a journal?
You know what? Maybe somebody else my age can help me out here. I've done journal for years, but I'm afraid that when I die, everybody's gonna find them.
Well, you know, Cheryl, I see what you feel and I can understand. I validate that. But I think that also there's paper out here that you can write things down and keep, and maybe keep it for a day or two, look at it and see what happens. And then you put it in the water and it dissolves if you worry about people seeing your work. But I think that if you write the way you wrote this afternoon, is definitely something that you're leaving like a legacy behind for those who do love you to look at. I don't think there would be judgment on anyone's part if they find this. Okay. So I want you not to hinder your creativity. I want you to create, because life is creation. Yes. And the body itself holds us. This is like our clothing, but when we transpire, we still live, and your poetry is living on. So I highly say, please, you know, continue to write. I mean, you really write beautiful haiku there. And it would be just sad not to know that you're not writing. So I would like to kind of give you the energy or encouragement to continue to write. It's beautiful, Cheryl.
I don't have a problem with writing haikus. That's my journaling. No, that's what I'm afraid of now, because I have now I'm tearing up old books now and shredding them too.
Okay. Whatever process you need to do and that feels good for yourself, I validate that. So thank you so much. And I really appreciate you sharing that beautiful haiku with us, Cheryl. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to go next? Anyone? Linda? Hi, Linda Evans. Could you share?
The end of summer, and I love my insects and flowers. And I thought about, I love pastels. I'm fighting off the rusts and the browns and the oranges, and just holding on to the lightness of summer and spreading my wings too.
I love that. The butterfly.
Yeah.
It's much up with transformation. There's transformation to that butterfly. And I love the fact that you said you're holding on to your pastels, you're holding on to the summer, right? And, you know, trying to fighting these colors that are coming in, and you love the pastels. And I think that's beautiful that you can say it for yourself and speak it up, because sometimes we feel frightened to speak up, but that's that self-empowerment I was talking about with creativity, that you have the ability to speak up and say, this is what I feel. And that's fine. That is fine. And we hold the space for that. So thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Linda. And maybe for one more person, because I see the time and I want to honor your time.
I can go.
Hi, yes.
Okay. Just want to share, I'm actually a visual artist, so, and I'm sharing what I do. I don't know if you guys can see, I was making a picture of you while you were talking.
Me? Oh,
And this is your background. It's a technique that it's called blind contour, which you don't look at your paper at all when you're drawing. So it comes out really crazy, but it's kind of meditative, because what you have to let go, right? Like you're not looking at your paper, so you just have to follow whatever you see. It comes out crazy, but it's a lot of fun. So I just say
I love it. I love it.
try
Blind
that if you
contouring.
can. Blind contour. You can look it up and find it, samples online.
And we see your beautiful art behind you. Is that your art?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's all my too much stuff.
I
Too
love
many
it. It's
paintings
beautiful.
and failures and successes, but yeah, that's what I do. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. It's beautiful, blind contouring. And as you can see, you could just look at something and just draw it. I love that. That's perfect for the still life. Just look at the pumpkins, look at the leaves, look at whatever's there, and just look at it without judgment and just let the pen, the paper, what medium did you use? Did you use a pencil or a marker?
I just used a pencil, but the ideal material for that is like a marker or something that you cannot erase because you have to live with whatever. So I love Sharpies, those like thin Sharpies. Those are my favorite. You just put something in front of you, just draw whatever, don't care. It's more about doing it and experiencing as opposed to is this successful or is not, who cares? It's all about your own mind and the connection of you with the object. You know, it's like it actually being in the present moment because you have to be just focused there and you're not thinking anything else. So
I love that. So I'm gonna start with you and then go backwards. Carolina, just give me one word of how this felt in this moment here today, 10/11/24. How did you feel? Just one word, do art.
excited.
Yes, thank you. Linda, how did you feel?
Boy, peace.
Thank you. Cheryl, how did you feel writing your haiku?
Patient.
Thank you. And Irene, how did you feel?
Opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. I hold that. And I receive all that love to each and every one of you. Someone said, I have to go now, but I would like to thank you so much for your 2 thought-provoking questions. Thank you, Kathy. Take care. Have a great weekend. And I want to say to each and every one of you, continue to do your best to just be creative. And just like Carolina said, you don't worry about it. Don't even go into your mind about like, is it art? Is it not art? Just be yourself. Just create. Just dance. Just have fun with all of this. Just play. Bring more play back into your life, okay? It's going to be 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. Just have a little fun, a little laughter. You know, it really does help dissolve the stress. So each and every one of you, thank you. Thank you. Bye, Kathy. Thank you, guys. Have a great
Thank you.
weekend. Peace and
Thank
blessings
you.
to you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elva.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Linda. Take care. Thank you so much.
All right, everyone. It looks like we lost Misha, but that's okay. Thank you for joining us. Elva, as always, we appreciate you and the light you bring into this meeting.
Peace and blessings to you all. Thank you, guys.
We'll see you all next week.
Be well.
Have a wonderful weekend.